All right, guys, welcome back. Another episode of Kellen Time, and today we are looking at the Nodus Duality. Nodus microbrand out of LA. Really cool watch here, guys. We'll get into it. I'll quickly kind of show you the box, and it comes with this little branded microfiber cloth. And then this is the box you get. Nice little setup here. It's got all of your documents in the bottom shelf, which is essentially your warranty card, your regulation card. They show you how it was running in all of the different positions. And then you get a little instruction booklet that tells you all about the watch, all of the information you need, how to operate the watch, how the dual crowns work, how to care for your watch, timing and regulation, explains the warranty, a little congrats and thank you, and then it kind of calls out some of the selling points, the case design, the inner rotating bezel, the BGW9 loom, the hybrid dial construction. Again, we'll get in all this, the double dome box sapphire, etc. 300 meters water resistance, and then kind of how you can follow them or contact them. So kind of cool. The top piece here is where the watch comes. Obviously the watch would be in this spot, and then these are just extra links. So I have a 7.5 inch wrist. You can probably fit up at least to an 8-inch wrist with the links that they give you. And then they give you an additional quick release or quick changing rubber strap. Really nice rubber. Kind of feels like it's a pretty dense rubber because this is a bit heavier than other rubbers that I have, and it has a nice tread pattern on the inside to help sweat or moisture kind of dissipate. Yeah, to be full transparent, I haven't worn it on the rubber strap yet, just because I've loved the bracelet so much, and I'm a big bracelet guy, that when they get a bracelet right, I just go with it. So, but it's cool that they include it. It's always a nice option. Nice little touch that it's the quick release too. So we'll kind of get that here. So what else? What about the watch? Well, it's really rad. So they make a couple of different versions, and it's called the Duality because it's kind of plays on the two things of everything. So it's both, they call it for both the thinker and the doer. Basically, this thing, they're saying all good things come in twos. So they have it both in a black dial and a white dial. They call this the Chasm Black. And it's black, but when you get it out in the sun, it's definitely, and you can kind of see the reflection on the inner bezel there, like here, it definitely has some like metallic-y kind of gray, dark gray to it. Really fun color. It's not just a straight black. It has some life to it when you get it out in the sun. So like I said, it comes in two different dial colors. So you have a white dial or a black dial. This obviously is the black. When you get the white dial, the outer bezel or inner bezel, I guess, in this case, remains black. So it's a kind of a two-tone combo. And then you got the dual crowns. So yeah, they call it the Duality. Really cool. They kind of thought about everything. And one of the things that I really enjoy about this watch is that it has so much going on, but it doesn't seem like it has so much going on. Because sometimes you have some watches and they kind of pack a lot into it, and it just doesn't seem cohesive. This watch has a ton going on, yet it just works. Everything works. So I guess we'll get into it. It's a 316L stainless. It's a 40 mil case, and it's a 13 mil thick, and it's a 48 lug tip to lug tip. It's a 20 mil lug width, and the crowns are 6 mil. So really good sizing. 40 mil is that sweet spot I feel like everyone kind of enjoys. But it's interesting because you would think that with a super compressor style where the double dome sapphire goes all the way across and you don't have an actual bezel to make the crystal smaller, that it would appear bigger. When I first got this watch, I was impressed at how not small it looks, but how much, I guess, smaller than I was expecting it to look. I was expecting it to look like it would wear bigger because of how big the sapphire is when the sapphire goes over the top of that bezel, but it doesn't. It almost looks like a 39 millimeter watch, but it isn't. It's a 40 mil, and it's got just a ton of charm when you put it on the wrist because of how well everything plays together. So that was my first impression of the watch. The other thing that's really cool is the dial. So the dial is, and they're kind of known for their sandwich dials. They've done that in the past, and that's kind of their thing. This is a hybrid construction is what they're calling it. It's a sandwich dial with applied indices. So you can see that the white dial that's behind the black dial is where the loom is. And it's essentially a full loom disc that sits behind the top black dial. And then they went a step further, and they all of the cutouts of the sandwich dial, they encase those in these kind of polished applied indices. Really cool. You can see the date window. They went black to kind of give you a date and put it there, but not to jump out at you. And then I didn't touch on this earlier, but this is the countdown bezel, or the dive bezel, the 60-minute dive bezel. They also have a 12-hour, they call it a travel bezel. So you could get this rotating bezel to be a 12-hour travel bezel. I'm a big fan of dive bezels. I don't travel enough, and if I do travel, it's literally the furthest I would go is to the East Coast, and 3-hour time difference. I can do the math in my head. I don't really need to track 2 times, but I do all the time things, whether it's, I mean, what do we time? Our coffee in the morning, when I'm watering the lawn, like simple, stupid things around the house, nothing crazy. But I do use it for that, and I just don't. I've had a 12-hour bezel. I had it on my Halios. I just never used it, so I kind of learned. I like a dive bezel. I prefer a dive bezel, so that's what I went with. Anyway, so really cool construction on the dial. So I hope that kind of comes through. So great loom, like we said, it's BGW9. The movement is a Miyota 9015. It's obviously the Japanese automatic movement. Pretty standard. Like I showed you, it's regulated in 4 positions, and they're guaranteeing regulation to plus minus 8 seconds in every position. And you saw on the card, it was +2, +5, +2, +5. So well within their regulation. So really cool to see that. What else? It's got 2 screw down crowns. Obviously, this bottom screw down crown, and this is a black PVD on the knurling, which is a cool touch. And just to keep hitting it home, they did loom applied indices or applied markers to the end of the crown, so you at night, if you were confused or whatever, you could see which one is what. So a screw down to keep that 300 meters water resistance. So you unscrew it, and then obviously you can wind it here, and then you can adjust your time, etc. So pretty standard. And then this is your bezel. You're in a bezel, see, move that. So if you wanted to start your timer, line it up with your minute hand, screw it down, boom, you're ready to go. The nice thing about a rotating inner bezel is that you will have no alignment issues, because you can always get that inner bezel to align with exactly wherever you want. One of the few knocks, or the few things that I don't like about this watch, or really could come up with, is the grittiness of the screw down of the bezel. It's not perfect, but with everything else that is great on this watch, this might be one of the few things that I didn't love, was the kind of the grittiness of the threads on this. So be careful when you're screwing it down. You can't just jam it in there and go. I think you just got to make sure you catch the threads right, and then it screws down. So we talked about the loom. It's a BGW9 dial, hands, and bezel, and then there's a green glowing loom for the accents. So the bezel triangle at the top there, the minute track dots, and the crowns are all green loom to give you some contrast when it's at night. So I like how they did that. 300 meters water resistance, or 1,000 feet. The bracelet is amazing. You can see it's a female ended bracelet. They have the holes in the case, so you can easily get the strap changing out and done, because you don't have to mess with the back. It's a 20 mil, and it tapers down to 18 mil. The cool thing is it's an H-link, right? But they've done, and I haven't even touched on this, but everywhere on the case is a bit of chamfering and polishing and beveling, but not over the top. So this bezel, this, I guess, no bezel, is a high polish. The case is brushed, but then you get down to the side, there's a chamfered edge right there that's polished. And then they carried that chamfered polished edge down the bracelet. So 98% of the bracelet is brushed. You can see the H-links are brushed, except for this little edge right here has a nice chamfered polish edge to it, which kind of comes from the line on the case, which is super awesome. And then you get down to the clasp. It's a Nodus sign, flip, double press, stamped clasp. It's not, I'm sorry, it's a milled clasp. It's not stamped. So a nice little upgrade there. And then you get a fair amount of micro adjustments. I will say the other thing that I have, the tolerance is very good. It's almost so tight in here that when you're trying to adjust and micro adjust, say you just wanted to bump it up to the third one, it's almost like this this end link here barely fits in there, and you kind of have to move it, give it some persuasion to get it to slide. It won't just like come right out. So the tolerances are really high. It's got a nice click to it. The flip lock's good. The bracelet is just great. I haven't taken it off the bracelet because I enjoy it so much. And then you can see down, it's screw down links. So super easy to change. You just need a tiny little screwdriver and you're good. Screw down case back with their little logo there and some of their language about it. And then you can easily get to the spring bars and the end link. Even if you couldn't get through the case, they still give you some faceting in there. So really cool. Let's talk about some of the some of the details. Look at let me align the hour hand here. So the hour hand, minute hand, and the second hand are just really well done. You can see that the hour hand goes exactly to the hour indices, just perfectly. The minute hand goes all the way down and touches every minute mark. And then the second hand goes even further out on the track to touch basically the end of the track. So you get like perfect alignment and perfect legibility because of how well these hands are done. I think it's great. I think it looks great. I think it's just something that, they've made a couple watches and after you've made a couple watches, you start to think about and notice some of those small things. And this is one of those things that they did. The crystal we touched on is a double dome boxed sapphire crystal with, I believe it has AR coating on the inside. Really cool. It doesn't give you a ton of distortion. So what that means is it gives you quite a bit of legibility from all angles, especially for how big this crystal is and how kind of bubbled and domed it is. But just makes this such a legible and great looking watch face. Really highlights the sandwich style that they've done with the applied indices. And I don't know, like literally I got this, I wore it for like 2 weeks straight. There literally is nothing about this watch that I would change outside of maybe, I don't know, if you can have a little bit better tolerance on your screw down crown there. Other than that, there's literally nothing I would change about this watch. It's kind of a no nonsense. It comes off a little dressier than maybe some other dive watches I have. So that's kind of nice. But other than that, man, it's a great watch. It's got its own character. I'm a big microbrand guy. So I've had, like I said, Halios C4, the Autodromo Group B Night Stage 2, the Laurier Neptune Series 1, some of the kind of heavier hitters in the watch community. I've reviewed an Orion field watch. I think this is my favorite everyday piece. I will take it over. I'd honestly take this over the C4. I actually sold the C4 to get this. So, and I'm not looking back at all. This is definitely a keeper. The only other one that I might like a little bit more than this, and it's just because of the character of it, is the Autodromo Group B. But this is definitely more of a everyday piece, where the Autodromo Group B is more of that kind of fun piece to have in your collection and put it on. So anyway, this is a great watch. And so right now, this came out, I think last year. They're doing another run of them. So if you're interested in them, you know, you got to wait. I think May 2020 is when they're saying it's going to be back. It's $700. Last time they did a little pre-order that saved you maybe $100 or less. I don't know if they're doing it this time, but just keep your eye out. They're very communicative, and they've got a great Instagram. So you can kind of, if you're interested, check them out. This is it. This is on my 7.5 inch wrist. You can see it fits great. Really enjoy it. Let me know if you have any questions, guys. Appreciate it. I think that's it. Trying to think about anything else on this watch. Really cool watch. Thanks, guys. Later.